Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode 80, and we're kicking it off the only way we know how to kick off this last part of season 4. We've got a special guest tonight, but Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, the Podfather himself, Stephen Buonocore.
Yes.
President of Stronghold Games and Indie Game Studios. We'll be talking games, plus an awesome Boudin Bowl with maybe a special surprise guest or two there, Stephen. We'll see. So Board Game Gumbo is a fine member of Punchboard Media. Check out our other fine members like Jake and Danielle Bach of the Draft Mechanic Podcast. You know those people.
They're awesome.
They have got a podcast about something near and dear to your heart, beer and board games, Stephen. Anything they can do to tie those things together. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hey, hit me and Steven up on social media tonight on Twitter at Board Game Gumbo or on Facebook.com/Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat. But enough blather. Let's get right to our guest, Stephen Buonocore. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I've gotten all Florida outed for you here. I'm like, you know, I always wear Stronghold Reds on my podcast appearances and when you see me at conventions. So I'm wearing Stronghold Red, but well, it's my Florida shirt right now.
I love it. Yeah, last time you wore the active wear. This is like the beach wear. This is
Stronghold in Florida, but you know, we're recording at like 9:30 p.m. So there's no sun out there. So I'm taking off the sunglasses here. So we'll get rid of those. But I'm going to keep the shirt on because, you know, nobody wants to see me in a bare chest. So
leave the shirt.
I'm really happy to be here, BJ. Thank you so much for having me on the show again. This is wonderful.
Stephen, I don't know anybody out there in podcast land who doesn't know who you are, but just in case, give us the elevator pitch. You get hit with elevator pitches all the time.
Yes.
Who is Stephen Buonocore?
Just in case.
What is Stronghold Games?
Stephen Buonocore is the president of Stronghold Games and the spokesperson for Indie Game Studios, which is the merged company of Stronghold Games and Indie Boards and Cards. We merged last year in the middle of the year. We had a big announcement at Dice Tower, at the Dice Tower live show at Gen Con. Stronghold Games has been a premier hobby board game company as well as Indie Game Studios for the past 10 to 11 years. And we have merged together to become even a stronger force. Together, we're about, give or take, the third largest hobby board game company in North America, which is kind of a nice thing. We publish everything from the smallest games really to the biggest games as well. So we have a very broad spectrum. Stronghold Games and its catalog is kind of known for the sort of the heavier games and quite a bit of Euro games, many games coming out of Europe that we brought over, whereas Indie Boards and Cards is known for social deduction games and smaller games. But we both cross over a little bit there, but we are going to maintain separate catalogs and separate brand identities as we move forward. And the history is going to paint itself over time now as we conquer the hobby gaming world.
Love it. Indie Game Studios. That's the big announcement. Steve O'Rourke, the name father, wants to know, is that a little grappa Stephen is sipping? What are you drinking tonight there, Steve?
Oh, what do I have here? I have a single malt scotch. This happens to be one of the Game of Thrones single malt scotches. They released like a whole series of 8 of them that were branded with each one of like the houses of a Game of Thrones. This one happens to be House Tully in the Game of Thrones line. So that's what I'm having a little bit of it right now.
I've seen you share those on social media. I'm drinking tonight. I don't know if you've had this. This is Parish Brewing Company, about 5 minutes from my house. And this is their South Coast Session Amber Ale. So
I do not know that. So
little free plug. You might know them from their most famous beer. It's called Ghosts in the Machine. It's a double dry hop that gets, awards. So,
very cool. I don't think I know that one, but that's very cool. You'll have to bring me one maybe to
Dice
Tower Con. You're going to be there, right?
I will be there at Dice Tower Con.
That's awesome, man.
My son Jack and my wife Linda, you know both of them very well. We helped you out in the booth 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I will bring you. You like a double? You like IPAs, right?
I love IPAs. I love all craft beer, all very well-made craft beer.
I'm going to bring you some Ghost in the Machine. How's that?
Oh, dude, I would love that. Especially things that I don't have. I don't have my little app here to see if I've had one, but I don't think I have. So if you bring me something like that, I would really appreciate it.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo, I've got my guest, the Podfather himself, Stephen Buonocore, and I am drinking beer because I'm celebrating I backed a game and it looks like it's going to fund Agizia. Tell us all about it, Steve.
Easily funding. In fact, just so everyone who's listening, cheers, just so that everybody gets to make sure that they get a chance to get this game. We're literally, the Kickstarter literally closes down in 2.5 hours at like midnight East Coast time here on Sunday night.
So it's Gumbo first. We are celebrating the close. I love it.
We're celebrating the close of Agizia Shifting Sands. Now, what is this? First of all, Agizia is a grail game to many. It's been out of print for about 10 years at this point, quite a bit of time. And it was one of those really, at the time, about 10 years ago, very big medium weight Euros that came out out of the design teams of Europe. Agizia Shifting Sands, you are traveling down the Nile and you have to take certain actions as you get down the Nile. The very cool, interesting mechanic of this is if you travel down to a certain extent, you can never travel back up to do something that you that you passed.
Ooh,
and every person can only be on like one space. There are certain spaces that multiple people can be on. So you have to make those hard decisions. Like, I really need to do something that's way down at the bottom, but I really want to travel that far? Because then everybody else is going to take multiple actions before me, after me. So I might not want to do that. So this is a game of resource management, worker placement, and the really cool thing about this traveling down the Nile to take the actions to optimize the building of the pyramids and the obelisks and all of these things in Egypt. You're trying to build all of the great monuments of Egypt. We're really excited about this. It was a game that has been out of print and people really wanted back. So we went out and reached out to the original designers, and they helped us do some extra work to redevelop the game. And a good friend of mine, Brian Burzak, helped us out as well. And it's very exciting. We're in the last 2 hours. So if you want this, please go back this on Kickstarter. If you can put a link there, Stephen or
BJ, a link. The Name Father's already got a link in the chat.
Oh, great!
Directly to the Kickstarter, and you got just a couple of hours left to get in on this Kickstarter.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm not even here because of that. I'm here because you and I wanted to get together again. But it just so happens that we're ending the Kickstarter on the same night, so it's kind of a cool thing. And
Dan says, pretty stoked to finally have a copy of Agizia coming my way. See, he's already backed it, Stephen.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you so much. And the interesting thing here about the whole thing is that if you back the Kickstarter, because there's fans of this, like Dan, who's been a fan of this probably for a while, he's been looking for the game. If you back the Kickstarter, you can play the game the original way, and we have a new redeveloped way to play the game. So it's a 2-sided game board, so making it a true second edition. So if you want to be able to play it in both ways, then you want to get in on the Kickstarter. Otherwise, it'll be in retail probably around the November, December timeframe, but it'll be the second edition only version of the game.
Interesting. And that's Agizia. We haven't seen it in a long time. The prices have been kind of crazy. I love the fact that you guys are catering both to the fans who want the classic edition, but also they're going to have this, some of these new things. What can you tell us about how you guys are plussing up the edition?
The plussing up is basically the redevelopment that we've done and several new cards. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that we added in. And if you take a look at the milestones that we're showing on the Kickstarter, we don't, in a lot of the Kickstarters we've done so far, we're not doing stretch goals. We're doing milestones. So every day you're getting to see a new portion of the game that we have redeveloped. We put out the rules there already, but you're getting to see, okay, we're adding this in, we're putting this in, we're putting this in. So it's not a stretch goal thing. We don't like, if we get to X, we're going to give you this. No, we're going to show you the game as has already been developed and unveil a little bit each time. The main thing is that redevelopment that we did basically rebalances and adds other little elements of the game to make it more of a modern game. But of course, fans like to play original games, so we have both games in there if you're a fan of the original game.
Yeah,
for the Kickstarter backers.
Some of the milestones are pretty cool. You guys are doing some UV coding, it looks like.
Things like that as well. Sure. I mean, those are the little things that like just kind of like kick a game up or kick the production value up. I always like the ones that truly explain that, okay, we're going to add these extra cards in. We're going to add these extra pieces into the game to make the game a little more interesting for a gamer as well. So a little bit of everything in there, and that's kind of the way that we're structuring our Kickstarters these days.
And this is one of the partnerships that you have with one of those publishers? No,
this is one we literally went out and we went out, found the original designers, said we'd love to bring this game back, and they were very excited to be working with us. So no, this is a, there was a design already, of course, and we then took that design, developed it back and forth with them over the course of about a year and a half until we said, oh, we like this as a second edition, so let's bring this one out. So this is sort of a grassroots that we took on ourselves.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got a copy coming. I backed it. And also Jason Dinger, our mutual friend Jason Dinger, he backed it this morning.
So it's very cool. Jason is a really, really good guy. I met him at BGG Con, I believe, in November.
Yes,
and what a humble, nice guy. I really, really enjoyed our discussion there. And he's got that Captains of the Gulf right now over with Spielworks, who is a very big strategic partner of ours. So who knows what might happen with that in the future.
So you like Euro games. You have a strategic partnership with Uli over there at Spielworks. Jason's got a game that's completely sold out. Steven, last time you were on the show, you gave us an awesome scoop about a Euro game.
Yeah, let me tell you how much trouble I got in. You SOB, man. I got in so much trouble. I gave you this little bit of tidbit about Terraforming Mars, and all the guys over at Fricks went ballistic. They were like, why are you talking about this before we're supposed to talk about this? But it was very funny because that whole thing went kind of geek viral, I think. And it got out on everything. So, in the end, it really paid off. But you're a bad man. You were made me tell you things. But okay, I'll give you this little bit of a scoop, I guess. There's no contract here for this or anything, but Uli Blenneman and I are very good friends. Uli is the president of Spielworks, and he really loves to work with us. So we, at the moment, the current plan is that we're going to try to do via Kickstarter. So with Uli and Spielworks, we're going to try to do the rest of the games in the Gulf series. What is he calling it? He had a name for the series of games that Jason is doing.
The Acadian trilogy.
The Acadian trilogy. That's right. So he's doing this trilogy of games with Jason, and we believe that right now we're probably going to get in, and we're going to do them all as well. So,
wow.
So the current plan, and it's still in its infancy, is we're going to do the next game with Spielworks that he's doing with Jason, and at the same time do Captains of the Gulf. So relaunch that as well. So we would do this probably as a Kickstarter. The next game, what's the next game called? I forgot what it's called.
Crescent City Cargo.
There you go, Crescent City Cargo, and relaunch Captains of the Gulf because it's sold out already. And then, of course, once the next one is done, the third in the trilogy, we'll do that one as well. So that's the current plan. The timelines aren't exactly in, but Jason, love your stuff, man, and you're a great guy. So keep churning it out, and I'm sure we'll be working together.
Berla says, don't worry about last time, Steven, that whole Fricks Brothers things. Just take another sip or 5.
Yeah.
Keep drinking. Hey, wait, we sold another one. Look at that. Adam Austin says,
thank you. I know Adam. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you know Adam from all the cons. So that's right. So that is fantastic. We've been talking about Egizia, and we also got a little bit of a scoop there about Captains of the Gulf and the Acadian trilogy. That is awesome.
That is the first time I've mentioned it. So that's 100% a scoop that we're most likely doing that and planning that whole thing out.
BJ from Morgan Gumbo, I've got my guest here, the Podfather himself, Stephen Buonocore, and there's a game, speaking of Spielworks, there's a game that you and Uli have coming out pretty soon. You ready to talk a little bit about D-Mocker? Said it right?
D-Mocker. That's right, D-Mocker. So this is the most German theme in the world, but it's the really weird thing about the game D-Mocker is that the number one is that it's number one. Do you know that D-Mocker is the first game entered into the Board Game Geek database?
I did know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you actually because every game has got a number associated with it.
A tag, right?
Yeah, because right now they're up to like 100,000 because 100,000 different games in there. But every game has literally a number. So if you created the link manually, like boardgamegeek.com/boardgame/1, I think that would be the link.
Something like that. Yeah.
You should actually type that in now and see if that works. But that will bring up DMocker. And what is DMocker? So DMocker was the first game that Scott Alden, who created Board Game Geek, the first game that he ever put into the database. It is the granddaddy of heavy Euro games. It is in its original state, like a 4-hour Euro game. We have
look at these ratings.
Oh yeah. It's a very very well rated game. It's got huge cred with the older time geeks and the very serious Euro gamers. So Uli, being the guy that he is, Uli Blenneman over at Spielworks, he knows everybody in Europe and everybody certainly in the German gaming market. He reached out to Karl-Heinz Schmiel, who is the original designer of this game, and he redeveloped the game to create essentially a second edition. You can play it in its original form again, or you can play it in a more streamlined version. And we are going to be launching DMocker limited edition. And this is very important to know for everybody out there. Oh, look, see, there it is. BoardGameGeek.com/boardgame/1.
Yep.
If you do that, you get DMocker, the first game ever entered. So back to my story here. So we're going to be launching DMocker limited edition with Spielworks. And why is this limited edition? Because literally, we're putting the game on Kickstarter. It's a very specialized audience for a very specialized game. If you want this game, you basically essentially have to back it on Kickstarter. It's not going into distribution.
Wow.
Okay. Period. So whatever number that we back on Kickstarter, we'll print obviously a little bit more. So there'll be a few more games that we'll have on the website. We'll have at conventions maybe. But that's few and far between. We're going to offer it as a limited edition. If the demand is there in 2020, we're going to basically say in 2021, we may put it back out again. Okay. But it's going to be a 2-year delay between this Kickstarter and the next thing. So if you want the game, please go out and back it. And we're going to start that on June 25th. That'll be the next Kickstarter.
My birthday.
Yeah, there you go. And it's going to start right before Dice Tower Con, and it'll end right after Dice Tower Con.
So, Stephen, here's the cool thing that people tell me. Now, I've been hearing about this game for years and years. Rich Summer talks about it. Of course, they've talked about it on the Dice Tower. You've talked about it on your podcast. But one of the things I've heard is, how Twilight Imperium and some of these other big event games, but they're more of an American style, theming. They tell me, people that have played this tell me that DMocker is that kind of game. It's a big event, a game that takes a while, but that you will remember for years and years and talk about what happens to it. Is that true?
I mean, I guess you could think of it that way. It's mostly because of its long time frame that you're going to be making many decisions over time. And I did say it's a very German theme, but at the same point, it's sort of a very topical theme. It's about DMocker is the German parliament, we'll call it, the German political system. So in the game, you're going to be taking positions in various agendas for the parties in Germany. But Uli, in his infinite wisdom, he's updated them, of course, to 21st century types of events and things like that. So you'll be, which are in general global, because the different things that affect the Western nations affect all of us, right? So you're going to be taking positions and you're going to be vying for the different influences and parties and things like that. So, and as you can see by the picture on the box, you're going to be
beautiful
voting.
Cover, by the way.
Very cool, very interesting, right? That's the German picture of the German parliament. So, I would say it's epic, certainly in the way that the story is going to unfold. Sure. Very different, I think, than like a TI 3E or 4 now and things like that. But still, I think it's one of those games, once you invest in it and you understand its mechanics and then you do play this game, you're going to be getting into it, and then you're going to have this kind of this experience you're going to have with other gamers when you do play it.
Now, Uli has a close relationship with Harold Lusky, who does seems like most of the artwork for Spielworks type games. Is Harold going to be involved in this project?
I believe Harold is the graphic designer on this as well. Okay. Yeah, I believe he is.
And that is D-Mocker, and that's coming out June 25th, out on Kickstarter. If you want a copy, you better log into that Kickstarter. And it's going to be a short period, and what they make is what they're going to make maybe for the next couple of years, right?
That's exactly right. I'm not trying to create demand where it isn't, but as another Grail game, if you want this game, you do want to try to get involved with it now.
BJ from More Game Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Stephen Buonocore. Before we get to the next game, I got a question for you, Stephen.
Yes, sir.
We've got a series of questions we're going to ask you tonight. We love some trivia here on the Gumbo, and I found one that I thought you might be interested in. Which number is greater, Stephen? Which number is greater? And the audience can play along too. The number of attractions, according to Wikipedia, in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, or the number of hex spaces on Terraforming Mars.
Well, it depends on what you say is an attraction, I guess. I mean, is
Defined
every
by Wikipedia.
Yeah, I know. So it's going to be weird. I'm going to go with the number of hex spaces in Terraforming Mars.
The number of hex spaces. Steve O'Rourke is going to give us that answer.
Okay, Steve, put it up there on the screen.
But I believe the number of hex spaces on Terraforming Mars is more than the attractions. There's about 48 attractions in the Magic Kingdom. Now they count a lot of the stuff, like the old time vehicles going down, the barbershop going down, those things like that. But still, there are more hex spaces on Terraforming. Did you know that before that?
No, I took a guess.
All right, BJ from More Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Stephen Buonocore, and we're talking about what I want to talk about is you've got a whole lineup of roll and writes coming in. One of my favorites is one that I've been playing a lot lately, and it's called Doppelt So Clever.
So you've been playing Twice as Clever.
Absolutely.
Versus Ganz Schön Clever, which is that's pretty clever.
My buddy Bradley went by and visited your booth and personally bought a copy from you at BGG Spring and brought it back for me.
Very nice. Thank you, Bradley, very much. Appreciate it. So what we're doing right now, so as I kind of talked about a little bit in the beginning, Stronghold Games has kind of been known for the bigger games, larger box, bigger price point games. But
Port of Niagara, My Village, those big games, right?
Yeah, things like that. I mean,
Terraforming Mars.
The Terraforming Mars, right? Space Cadets, Core Worlds, kind of the bigger games. But again, we're always looking to expand the line in all ways, and of course, we're always looking to find. Oh, and look, Steve, he put 61 hexes. I saw that. Right? And thank you, Steven. You're amazing. I like the way you spell your first name too. Very good. So we're always looking to expand the line in all directions because we want to be the company that everybody looks for to say, well, what is happening right now at Stronghold Games? What do they have that I might like? So in this case, we reached out once we saw that Ganz Schön Clever was such a great game and it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres last year. We reached out to Schmidt Spiele and we said we would love to do that game, and they selected us. And with that game, they then threw and said, do you want to do the follow-up game, which is Twice as Clever? Do you want to do Bricks, also by Wolfgang Warsch? Do you want to do Nakmal, which is the largest, we're going to call it Encore, the largest roll and write in Germany, the largest selling, and also the last one is Dizzle. So we have 5 true roll and writes and also a flip and write, which is by Uwe Rosenberg, and that's called Second Chance. So all of these small form factor games all look or all of the same genre where, small price point. I see what you're doing there. You're grabbing something. Okay, so all a small price point where you're rolling dice and then you're marking what you do on a pad. The Ganz Schön Clever, Twice as Clever, and Bricks are all by Wolfgang Warsch, who won the Spiel des Jahres last year for The Mind. And he was nominated, the first time ever, he was nominated for 3 different games. He was nominated for The Mind, and he won. He was nominated for Ganz Schön Clever, and then he was also nominated for The Quacks of Quedlinburg. So an amazing, amazing performance by a brand new designer too. So he's not only 3 nominations for the biggest award, set of awards, but also a new designer. So this guy just thinks outside the box, and we're so proud to be working with him.
What a 2-year run for this guy. What a 2-year run just amazing games he's come out. Hey, Dan's got a question. He saw a post from the Fricks Games booth at a convention in Stockholm where they were playing a prototype of Terraforming Mars, the dice game. Is that something coming to America eventually?
So these guys, they yell at me for being big mouth, and then they're showing off a dice game that has zero chance of coming out within a year or a year and a half even. I mean, it's not even close to the game. I mean, so I want to set everyone's expectations for that thing. They showed it to us last exit. It wasn't ready. So they're playing with it. They're seeing if they want to do it. And we want to do it with them, but they've got a lot of work to do and how to position that game and bring down the point, because a dice game has got to be a lesser game, a smaller game than an actual game. And that game had 150 dice in it. So it didn't make sense the way they were trying to present it. I believe that in the end, we're going to do something like that, a Terraforming Mars dice game, or Terraforming Mars Roll and Write, or Terraforming Mars Express, whatever you want to call it. We'll do something like that, but they're not quite ready to present that game yet.
Steven, somebody's knocking on your door back there. I don't know if
Oh,
you see
no.
that.
Here we go. Who's showing up on this podcast?
Wait, who is it, though? There's somebody knocking on the back door. Can you open the door for us?
Let me open the door.
Oh my God, there he is. It's Marty Cannell and Danielle Bach.
No, look at this. I got a 2-for-1 here.
Welcome to Gumbo Live, Marty and Danielle. What are you guys doing here?
I was calling in to find out about the Terraforming Mars dice game. Is that coming anytime soon?
The only guy with a worse accent in podcasting than me is him. Right there.
Wow.
You guys are going to confuse me, because Steven, you're going to pull out my actual accent, and Marty's going to pull out what I hear all the time, because apparently you got the entire city of Charlotte to be on your podcast this week, DJ.
we got all of Charlotte. We got a Bayou accent. We got a New Jersey move down to Miami accent. We got all kind of accents here.
We enjoy the free movement of accents and things like that. But hey, guys, it's good to see you guys.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I guess BJ has dragged you onto this disaster here, huh?
No, I just happened to stumble across it. I was actually looking for something from Tom Vassell, and I fell into this thing instead.
He'll be here all night. Thank you, Marty. So I did invite Marty and Danielle here, and the reason is it's episode 80, big show for us, the last show of season 4. It's your big night with Agizia, but we've done a bunch of different games, and instead I wanted to try a different game with you. It's called the Boudin Bowl. They're prepped and they're ready to go, but you're on the spot, Steven.
I have no idea what we're doing here. So,
all right, this is how it's going to be played. The three of us, Danielle and Marty, we got together and we picked out some games. And it plays just like a football game. You've watched a football game in your life before, Steven?
1 or 2, yes.
Okay, good. So it's 4 quarters, and you're the judge. You're going to give us a touchdown, a field goal, or you're going to give us an interception, a 0. The theme tonight is beer. Now, that doesn't mean the board game has to be about beer, but each one of the selections is going to be a little bit like a beer. So opening up, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a nice lager game. A gateway or filler, an appetizing but accessible, refreshing game. And Marty's on the clock. He's got a game that he thinks is a nice lager game. We are allowed, by the way, to politic to you.
So wait, so I have to judge which of the games are better for the nice lager game?
Exactly. You're going to assign a touchdown, a field goal, or an interception, 0 points. And Steve, named father, is going to be keeping track of the points. So Marty, let's hear your selection, your lager game.
I love this.
Okay, for my lager game, I don't know who puts this out, but I know it's an extremely popular game right now. So whoever
Danielle,
puts it out is really
here
smart.
Comes the pandering, Danielle.
It's a game called, and it's German, so excuse me, I can't. Ganz Schon Clever, something like that. I don't know who puts that out or anything, but it's a really popular game and really fits this lager category for me.
Marty, Tony says at least Danielle brings class to the program.
I have never been accused of bringing class to anything.
and she gives me a lot of beer at conventions when I see her. And
That's kind of what we do.
We just saw each other at Geekway to the West, and we had an epically lovely evening with beer, and it was great.
Danielle, I'm going to let you go next because Tony says we got to make it quick. Marty's bedtime is soon.
True.
Let the Pander Olympics begin.
Well, I mean, I saw we were pandering because I actually got to pick third on this, so I suspect there might be a little bit more pandering to come. But I've been playing a lot of and talking about, actually recording today, Spring Meadow, and that felt really quite like a nice light game that you could really get anybody who can tell what a shape is into. But it has some nice decisions that you're making, and it plays really quick, easy to set up.
Oh, I like it. Steve, we're going to make it tough for you. Here's the third one. Here's a lager. If you're going to start up the night with a nice lager, a regular beer, how about Fuji Flush? What game is better for playing when you're just waiting? Now, Marty, I don't know who publishes that game, but
I don't know.
You might know, Steven. Fuji Flush. I can't think of any other game that you can just break out as people are coming in. In fact, I don't know if you know this, Steven. You can play with 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden Marty joins the party. Bring them in. And then Danielle walks in. You can bring them in too. It's a tough choice, but you got to decide. Gone Clever, Fuji Flush, or Spring Meadow.
So I have to give everybody a rating.
All you're doing is you're going to assign one player a touchdown, one player
one of each,
and one player an interception. And Steve, the name father, is taking track.
I'm gonna not make any friends here, I guess.
Whatever you do is probably you don't want to tick off the publisher of any of these games.
No, right.
And he's pretty safe there, right?
Yeah, I think we're in good shape there. So I'm going to be honest here. We're going with honesty, not like my favorites. And I'm not sure who. I love all you guys. So I don't know who my favorite would be. But I'm going to say really the touchdown here, really has to go to BJ. Yeah. That's really the ultimate.
You over here.
The ultimate lightweight, kind of like anybody can play it. I'm going to give the field goal to Danielle.
Oh, it's got marmots. It's got marmots.
Danielle, it's such a light, easy. It's so simple to play that game. You just throw things on and Marty, I'm saying
interception.
Listen. You know what I'm playing? The only game I'm playing the most right now in my of these 3 games, I'm playing Gone and Clever mostly. But it's a little bit extra thinking going on there. That's not as lightweight as what we're talking here. So interception, my friend. Interception.
Remember, I see you in 2 days. Don't forget that.
I'm going to see you on Tuesday. I'm in trouble. I'm going to get nutted. Boom.
End of the first quarter. BJ's got 7. Danielle's got 3. Marty, I'm trying to remember. What's your score again?
I don't know.
All right, so let's go to quarter number 2. How about a Belgian? And I'm going to butcher this name. Is it triple?
Belgian triple.
A Belgian triple. Danielle, you might want to know this. It's a small glass, high ABV. You guys should talk about beer in your podcast.
I have a feeling Danielle is very knowledgeable on all this.
Yeah,
so
why
this
am I
lecturing?
This is
a game that's absolutely bananas, and I hate it. Right?
That's right. So don't let the game deceive you. It looks little, but man, it's going to sneak up on you, hit you hard if you're not careful. And you're going to like it for that. So we're going to reverse the order. This time, Danielle, you get to go first. You are the beer expert tonight. So
okay,
Belgian triple.
I chose to go with diamonds because it looks initially just like any other trick-taking game. Okay, you play a card, you want to win the trick, but the real talent to that game is knowing when you're going to use the special powers of the different suits. And once you figure that out, it becomes a significantly more thinky game. And that is the core of the game, where it looks initially just like, oh, play a high card. You really have to keep track of your suits and when you're going to go out and when you're going to use the special powers. I like it, which makes it not like a Belgian triple, but whatever.
Diamond's one of my favorite designers. Love that game. I'm going to go next, and I've got a game. I don't know if you played this one, Steven. It's called Paper Tales. And the way this one works is you're breaking out, and you can play with a bunch of different people. In fact, I don't know if you know, they've got an expansion for this game.
Do they really?
Yeah. What I like
that
about
publisher's name? Okay.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember who it is. I'll tell you, it will really slap you in the back of the head if you're not paying attention. Look, it's got this coin mechanic, and it's also got this sort of waving out mechanic where if you're not careful, you could actually lose a lot of the cards you were counting on to score points. And so that's why I'm going with Paper Tales. And that leaves Marty. Marty, what you got?
All right, so this is a game that, when you're growing up and somebody puts a game on the table and they say it's a racing game, it's like you got these people who try to get to the cross the finish line first. You typically going to roll some dice, who can ever get there the quickest. So that's why this is a deceptive game when you put down a game like Flamme Rouge, when you have these guys who are just on bicycles doing a race. But then you start playing the game and you realize, holy cow, there's a lot more to this game than what I thought. The rules are super simple. But now I've got some tough decisions to make on who to assign what card and whether I should do some drafting in the back. When do I push ahead? So for me, I'm going to pick Flamme Rouge.
Now, does that come with a red, a tight red pants, bicycle pants? Do you know if that game comes with it or
Why
not?
are you so concerned, BJ?
Well, I've seen some pictures on social media.
Because Buonocore has worn biker shorts to show that game off at Gen Con about 3 years ago.
Oh,
yes,
good.
I did.
Steven, it's up to you.
All
what
right.
do you think here? Field goal
All
or who's got the touchdown and who threw another interception? Nick
imagine.
Shipley's weighing in, Marty. He says his favorite is Flamme Rouge.
And I love Nick, so I think I'm gonna go with Flamme Rouge as number one. So Flamme Rouge gets it. So yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what it is. It's like this deceptively simple. I'll play any card, big deal. It doesn't matter. But like, you got to be in it to win it with that game. You got to stay in the middle of that pack. You got to be at the right position, and all of a sudden you make the big break and you go for it. So that's a great. And again, it's another one of my go-to games right now. I absolutely love Flamme Rouge. So
The crowd is unhappy. Well, except for Tony. The other guy says you got to support the Flamme choice, so he's happy with that.
There you go.
All right. No more stalling. Who's getting the field goal between me and Danielle?
The field goal here, so it's got that thing. Think Diamonds is a game that has everybody's got a trick taker out there, but that game it just ratchets it up to the right level for trick taking. It makes all those hard decisions of when you're going to play your cards. So Danielle gets the field goal for Diamonds for that. And sadly, BJ, you get an interception.
Oh,
Paper Tales is a great game, by the way, but you get an interception on this one.
Boy, I'll tell you, everybody's coming out and saying the Flamme Rouge was a good choice. Very good, Marty there.
Thank you.
At halftime, it's BJ with 7, Marty with 7, and Danielle with 6. A very close game.
Ooh.
I think Steven's doing that on purpose, but we'll see. We'll see. He might be gaming this one. All right, so we're going to start back up in the third quarter.
Wait, what
Marty,
was the
you're up.
halftime show? Was there a halftime show? Did I miss it?
No,
It was Steven in the biker shorts.
No.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'll go get a beverage at this point.
I'll take my shirt off. What do you think? Can I do that?
Oh my God.
No.
Wow. All right, so let's move really quick to the third quarter there. Later on in the game, in the third quarter, how about this, Steven? Something deeper or darker, a stout game or a porter game. Lots of layers of flavor, maybe even some smoke from roasted malts or burned grains. I think. This game wants to be sipped and savored.
This is great, guys.
All right, so Marty, what you got for your what? Yeah, reminder of the tiebreaker is that if BJ ties, he loses. So that's me. Thank you, Steven. That Steven made up the rules. So.
All right. So this is one that I played several years ago. When I first saw it on the table, it's just mind-blowing the amount of components that's going on, the amount of movement that it makes. But it's one of those that I just savor every time I play. And it's actually been re-released recently, and that's Kanban.
Pandering.
Simple concept of hey, I've got to build a car and I've got to put it out there to market. But the process of putting the car together, and you've got, what was her name? What was the boss's name?
Sandra.
Cassandra. So, yeah. And you have evil and you have good, and you play with whichever one you want to play with, and you have all these different faces of the factory. It's just such a great game. But it's one of those that once you dig into, it's like, holy cow, this hurts, but it's so good.
Danielle, that's 3 straight pandering picks. Well,
Layers
we got to throw a
I
flag.
think that's 7 straight pandering picks.
I believe that's 7.
All right, Danielle, you're going to break the streak, I'm assuming.
No,
right?
I'm going to make it 8. Because if there is a game that has more different notes in it and different expansions that I think we're on like what 5, 6 now, Stephen. Terraforming Mars is a scout game. Between the changing on the boards, you can add colonies, you can add the prelude, you can stick every adjunct you want in Terraforming Mars, and it's still an absolutely beautiful game. It can take all of them.
She's making it tough.
It is so many levels of game, and you have to make sure it all works together, because otherwise you've got a clunker of an engine. I absolutely love it, and it is my scout game pick.
What you got there, Steven?
I'm done.
Oh,
I have no drink, and I'm like dying that you killing me with these great picks. All right, BJ, what do you got left?
I'm going to zig while all these others are zagging. I'm going to go deep into the well. It's probably a game you've never even heard of, but I just feel like this would fit. Okay? A game with lots of flavor, a game that you want to be sipped and savored. It's going to take a while to play. You may not have heard it, but it's got a great theme. It's called War of the Ring, and it's the War of the Ring Special Edition. It's got painted minis, and it's thematic to the bone. It's right out of J.R.R. Tolkien's his playbook.
You're not
never
fair.
heard of that one.
When did Stronghold start publishing War of the Ring?
See, he's using unfair tactics here because he knows me very, 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 very well.
This is chocolate flavored pandering.
And he knows my favorite game in the world as well. And oh God, do I have to give it to you because of? All right, it's his show too, I guess. So, all right, BJ wins with War of the Ring. And it really does. I mean, it really does have multiple levels of ways the game plays out and wins. So War of the Ring gets the touchdown. These are all good choices.
So
Danielle, I'm going to give Danielle the field goal. Ooh. That was great because it has the different levels that you can play the game at. And Marty, Kanban is a brilliant choice. And I'm sorry. It's an interception. It's very heavy.
Terraforming Mars is selling itself. I'm trying to help you move product here, man.
He's got expansions for Terraforming Mars he's got to sell.
Baby needs some diapers there, Marty.
I'm almost out, and I appreciate that, but I'm almost out of Kanban. I mean, and it was a one and done print. So if you do want Kanban, better buy it now because I'm not printing it again. Thank you, Marty.
I think Marty should get 1 point though for the awesome T-shirt. Love the Mountain Dew.
Give Marty.
Love the Mountain Dew T-shirt. Yeah, very good. Have you tried the new Liberty Dew, by the way, yet?
That is so funny you say that. My wife happened to pick it up today and we tried it. Yep.
I drank it today. First time ever. 50 different flavors, Steven. 50 different flavors all mashed into one Mountain Dew.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what it says.
It's not bad.
Fourth quarter, Steven, give us the score, Steven. That's let's see. Danielle's got 9. Marty has got 7 + 1, 8 points. And BJ,
I got half of a
14.
safety.
Yeah, it's sort of a safety. Sort of
2 quarters later.
It's pretty close. Come on.
Going into the fourth quarter, this is a really close game. Let's see what that category is. And the last category is a beer that I wasn't very familiar with until Danielle talked about it on the show, and now I see it everywhere. It's called a sour beer. This one is different. This game is going to be what others expect when they think of it's different from what others expect when they think of games. Not everyone likes it. It's an acquired taste, but those who do love it.
Yes.
So, Danielle, what do you have for your sour beer for the fourth quarter? Everything riding on this.
I have a game that it's a very quick play, which has, in my experience, is how sours go too. They tend to be gone very quickly. But it is definitely something you either like or you absolutely hate, and that is Stellar Conflict. It is a real-time placement and then rubber band measuring game where you're just slapping stuff down on the table trying to get your ships around, and then spending longer than you spent putting the ships out trying to measure where they are and what gets blown up and what actually is going to help you out towards the end of the game. And it is something that will get people screaming at a table one way or the other. It'll be good or bad, but it is definitely divisive.
Big explosion. Got it.
Steven, you heard of that one?
Yes, I might have heard of that one.
All right. Marty, everything on the line here. It's the fourth quarter. You need a Hail Mary pass.
Oh, my gosh.
You need
a
big one.
So it's fourth and long. Got to do a Doug Flutie here. All right. So Hey, you got the sports reference. I'm proud of it. Board game podcast, and you get the sports reference. Very
Love
nice.
it.
All right.
Boston College versus Miami. Love it.
Oh, look at you. Nice job.
1983 or 4.
80 something. All right, so here it is. Whenever you think now of a Cthulhu game, you instantly go to like Arkham Horror, you go to Eldritch Horror, you go to Mansions of Madness. You think of these very thematic co-op games where a lot of dice are involved and a lot of luck is involved. And then all of a sudden, from this designer, Martin Wallace, comes a game with a Cthulhu theme that's not really co-op. It's a little bit more thinky. And it's like, it kind of turns that whole thing that you would expect on its ear. And that's Australia, that came out last year. And I can't remember who published it. But anyway, that's one of those, it's like you expect something because of these other games, but it's something else.
Interesting. Australia. Have you heard of that one, Stephen?
Yeah, it rings a bell. Rings a bell.
Fourth quarter. Can
love you
BJ
guys.
hold the lead? Can BJ hold the lead? I zigged when others zagged last time, and I think I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to play it safe. The coach is going to go for it all here. That game that's different when others expect. I can't think of a single game out there with a theme involving shrimping and crabbing out in the Gulf. The game is tough to get. People don't know it. And all of a sudden they put it on the table and they're thinking, oh, this is going to be some silly light game. And instead it's a big, meaty, thinky game. It's easy to teach, but there's so many great decisions in it. It's by my buddy, Jason Dinger, and it's Captains of the Gulf. And Marty and Danielle, Stephen gave us a little scoop. We might see another edition of Captains of the Gulf someday with a certain publisher. So this is sort of a backdoor.
Did you like somehow like pick that like on the fly and put that in?
I did not. They can vouch for me. I picked Captains of the Gulf earlier this week.
That's true.
Captains of the Gulf. But I wanted to make it tough on you. We've got Stellar Conflict, Australia, or Captains of the Gulf. For the win, give it to us, Stephen.
For the sour game, for the sour game, which is an acquired taste kind of thing, as you said. It's very interesting. Interesting. I'm gonna. Oh wow. You know,
the audience can pander to you. They can try to sway you.
They can try. They can. But I'm gonna go with because the way that Martin Wallace has put together Australia with a rail building, resource management, combat game against the old ones of Cthulhu. It's such a weird, interesting mishmash of things, but it's so works. So the touchdown is going to go to Marty.
Marty, congratulations. A big fourth quarter touchdown. All right, here we go.
My 5-4 Doug Flutie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have
looking for the field
captains
goal.
Captains
and Stellar Conflict.
Captains and Stellar Conflict. Okay, so for the field goal here, really a game that is not going to appeal to everybody, is going to a little bit be weirdly outside the box, requires a spatial table orientation and rubber bands. It's got to go to Stellar Conflict. So Stellar Conflict gets the field goal on this one. And sadly, the interception is going to go to Captains of the Gulf, which is an amazing light middleweight Euro game, which we will be doing in the future, as I discussed earlier in the show. So very good.
Total points. Danielle, 12. Marty with 14 plus 1, 15. And BJ with 14. Congratulations, Marty.
Marty!
You win the Boudin Bowl.
Is it true that the winner gets $1,000? That's what I heard.
That is true. And the check is going to come right now from BJ Rojas right now.
You get 1,000 beer coasters with Stronghold's logo. Whatever their newest game is, we will make sure we get that in the mail for you.
I can do that.
Actually, I'll take that.
I can do that.
Love those beer coasters. Hey, Danielle, Marty, thank you guys for playing here on episode 80, our last show of season 4. I really wanted to close it out with a bang, and you guys did awesome. Thank y'all for spending the time to pick these games.
Thank you, and thanks for having us on, and thanks for a wonderful season. And I hope to see some of you guys at Origins.
Dice Archon?
Marty, Danielle, thank you so much for coming. This is really, really, really cool. Marty,
Danielle?
I'll see you in 2 days.
See you guys later.
Bye.
How was that, Steven?
Oh, dude, that was amazing. That was really, really exciting and really different. And I mean, you picked two wonderful people in the media portion of the industry. I love them both. I really
They
do.
made it tough on you. That was a lot of good choices, didn't you?
Yes. The pandering was thick, and I liked it very much.
We did. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Stephen Buonocore, the Podfather himself from Stronghold Games and Indie Game Studio. And you've got so many of these great roll and writes coming. I wanted to talk to you about one of them. The next one I wanted to talk to you about was a game called Second Chance. I don't know a lot about it. I know the designer. Tell me a little about what's going on with this Second Chance game.
So this is technically not a roll and write, but it's a flip and write. So in Second Chance, everyone gets a piece of graph paper, essentially, right? So it's a big grid that you are now going to draw the shapes that are presented to you on just every turn. 2 new shapes will show up, and you will draw them onto this piece of paper. The object of the game is to fill in as many of the spaces on your piece of paper as everybody, as the other players in the game. The person who does most of the spaces, more of the space than anybody else, is going to win the game. The name Second Chance comes from the fact that if two cards are shown and you cannot draw either one, you get a second chance. 1 extra card is drawn, and it's only for you. It gets put in front of you, and you have to try to draw that one. If you can't, you're out. But everybody will be out within the same 2 rounds of each other. Literally, the game lasts for 10 to 15 minutes. It's a very fast flip and write game. You can play this game with kids if you want, your grandma, or you can play with gamers who are going to really try to figure out those shapes and do the best job of filling in all the blanks. And some people get really artistic with it too. They're trying to draw little pictures in the shapes as they draw them too. So I played this game 3 times yesterday at the in Cool Stuff Florida. It's Cool Stuff Hollywood. They had a big Dice Tower did a big reopening sort of the board gaming events that Cool Stuff Hollywood, Florida has been doing for years, but they kind of fell off for a little while. So we did a new thing where Stronghold showed up, and WizKids, Zev was there, and Luke from Portal Games and Justin from Restoration Games. So we all showed up. There was 150 people there at Cool Stuff Hollywood. Had a great time, and I played three games of this, because they only take 10, 15 minutes each. So we had a great time showing this game off yesterday. And you can see the little shapes there that you draw, and you can draw anything you want. I mean, you can simply color them all in with lines, or if you want to be creative, you put little symbols and stuff like that. Object of the game, fill as much in as you possibly can.
Who's this geared for? Is this on a lighter end of those flipping rights or rolling rights or rando rights, as Jake Bach from Draft Mechanic likes to call them?
Yeah, actually, it's on the lighter end because it's very fast, and as I said, anybody can play it. So it's not thinky, other than if you're good at spatial orientation things, the things like Cottage Garden and Indian Summer and Spring Meadow, then you'll like this one quite a bit as well. But very fast, 10 to 15-minute game.
PJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Stephen Buonocore. Got another one I want to talk to you about, and you know this designer. It's called Bricks, and I know nothing about this one, Stephen. I know it's another one of those rando writers. Tell me about how this one plays.
Right. So Wolfgang Warsch, we talked about him before. He won for the Mind. With us now, he's done Gone Shun Clever, or we're calling it That's Pretty Clever, Twice as Clever. Bricks is his 3rd game, and by the way, I'll mention, but we're not going to talk too much about it, Subtext, which is a party game and a drawing game. But Bricks is his 3rd roll and write game, and you can think of this as Tetris, the roll and write. So these shapes are going to kind of fall down. You're going to have a piece of paper, and they're going to fall down, but you're going to, you from the top of your page to the bottom of your page, and you're going to draw these shapes. Oh, thank you. You're showing me the piece there. And you're going to draw these shapes, or you're going to put little X's where those shapes fall down. So 2 dice are going to roll. The player who's the active player is going to pick a shape. If they want, they can re-roll it, and then they take that next shape, and then everyone has to draw that shape onto their pad. The the interesting thing about the game is that you can, like in Tetris, you can move the shapes around or you can pivot them using energy, and the energy is earned. You start out with a certain amount, and you can earn energy during the game so that you can then be able to manipulate the shapes a little bit more. Again, it's on the lighter side because it's just about putting shapes down, but at the same time, really optimizing where those shapes fall and how you push them or draw them onto your pad is the key to the game. I happen to like this one probably more than any of the other ones because I can play this game very lightly, but with enough interesting decisions to keep me engaged for the entire game. So that's Bricks by Wolfgang Warsch.
How does this guy just keep coming out with games like this?
I'm of the opinion that he's a true genius of game design, and he's come late to the game, and he's thinking outside the box, so to speak. And that's sort of the interesting thing. So somebody who's coming from outside of the gaming industry, coming in and thinking these ways, giving us a whole new perspective on things.
I think he did a deal like Robert Johnson did, the blues guitarist. And
I know Robert Johnson. And he sold his soul to the devil. And there he is.
Right. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Stephen Buonocore, the Podfather. We're talking roll and rights, rando rights. And there's another one I wanted to bring up. One I'm not that familiar with, but I think it's on the lighter end of the scale, if I understand it right. And it's called Dizzle. What can you tell me about Dizzle?
Yeah, so to summarize the whole roll and write thing that we're doing here, so we started with That's Pretty Clever, or Ganz Schön Clever, Twice as Clever, Bricks, and Dizzle is the fourth of the 5 or 6 with second chance of the roll and writes. So Dizzle is by Ralph Zerlinde. He's a noted designer, not quite as much information about him. We've done a game with him in the past. And in Dizzle, you're going to roll a bunch of dice, and you're going to select one, and you're going to place it on your sheet again, and X that out in the end. You're going to try to create these patterns on your sheet. You're going to try to capture various elements like gems on your sheet, and when you hit on bombs, you can bomb people's other sheets. So this is about making patterns on one sheet, as well as affecting other people. So there's a little extra interaction in this game versus other games. But again, this is a very simple to play game, and in a way, it's sort of like once you buy into the system of roll and rice or rando rice, I kind of like that rando rice. Once you kind of buy into the fact that this is an interesting mechanic, you'll pick up Ganz Schön Clever, you'll pick up Twice as Clever, you pick up Dizzle, you pick up Bricks, you'll pick up Knock 'em All, you pick up all of these games because they're all these different takes on doing these things. So Dizzle is just another take on that. And this one is sort of patterns and moving through your sheet to create different ways of scoring in patterns and reaching the various sides of the sheet that you're playing on. And that's Dizzle by Ralph Zerlinde.
Yeah, we got interrupted. Oh, that rando right, by the way, is not me. That's Jake from Draft Mechanic Podcast. We got interrupted before we got to talk about the last one I wanted to talk to you about. BJ from Board Game Gumbo. I want to talk to Stephen Buonocore here, the president of Stronghold Games, about Encore. And right when we started, we had 2 surprise guests that came to visit with us. But Encore is a game that I look at, and the reason is I've been hearing podcasters, media people, game people, convention people talking about Knock 'em All since it first came out. Super popular over there in Germany, and you're bringing it out. Is that right?
That's right. So with our new partnership with Schmidt-Spiele, who first gave us Ganz Schön Clever and continues to give us all of these roll and rights. Encore, which in Germany is called Knock 'em All. Encore is the French name, but it's also, of course, an English word, so we elected to use that one. It is the single biggest roll and write in Germany, bigger than Ganz Schön Clever.
Wow.
Yeah, so because it came out before that. Now, if you look at it, it's also by a very noted design team, Inka and Marcus Brand. They did Village, which we also published a while back. So they've got great design cred. And here, again, you're filling in your patterns on your board and creating different shapes and different patterns and scoring and marking bases the dice that you have rolled. So red X's on the red spaces and blue X's on the blue spaces. It's all about creating these patterns to score the most points. For Knock-Mall or Encore, we are doing this as the base Knock-Mall Encore that came out originally. But with Knock-Mall, they've already had several different of these scoring pads come out, which create all of these different variants on scoring. So you can see that if Encore takes off, we'll bring out expansion pads for the game. So all of these things together, and this is the kind of the biggest thing I want to talk about right now, is that we're doing all of these games with Schmidt-Spiele as a line of games. On the lighter side, on the more almost party games on some level, though Gone, Strong, Clever and Twice as Clever are quite thinky, but almost that you can play them very lightly and just like, oh, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. And that's kind of the way that we're kind of like getting into that more of the mass market on some level. For instance, Gone, Strong, Clever is now going to be in Barnes and Noble. So we've already had other games there, but it's sort of on the lighter side where we're going to be able to push that game to more gamers or to new gamers, people that don't even know about our types of games, and push that out there so that we bring more people into the hobby. And that's a big thing for these roll and writes.
We've got some people from the Gateway and Filler group. I see Chuck Yeager and Verla and a bunch of other people. If you were recommending one of these Stronghold random writers that were coming out, what's the one that would be the most entry level for a Gateway that they could present to their friends? Which one would you say, take this first step?
I'd almost like to say, go with Gone, Strong, Clever, Twice as Clever, because it sort of like starts the line, but it is a little thinky. I'd probably say Bricks. You know why?
Bricks.
Because Bricks is Tetris the roll and write. So if you know Tetris and you know the fact that these very familiar shapes are going to fall down and you're going to X them out, it's going to be easy for everybody to understand. And then you're going to move them back and forth possibly by spending this energy. I explained that game in like 2 minutes. People get it, they play it, and then they want to play it a second and a third time to really try to maximize the whole idea.
And that's the entire Rando Writer line that's coming out, although you hinted a couple other games maybe coming down the pike. So you got some big things coming down from Stronghold Games in that Rando Writer craze, right, Stephen?
Well, the only other thing I mentioned was Second Chance, right? That's the only other thing. So I've already talked about all 5. That's the 6th one in that whole line. We don't have any other ones. The only other thing is Terraforming Mars, the dice game, but that's not a game. That's not in the works right now. So those are the ones we have, and I think 6 in the line, and basically in like only several months is a pretty good number. So I'm happy with that number right now.
What's your travels like this year, Stephen? You got some cons coming up?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So as Marty just hinted at just before this, in 2 days from now, we're on Sunday night here. I'll be seeing Marty and seeing all the good fans at Columbus, Ohio at Origins. Very excited about that. Origins is one of it's a very big con, but it also has a kind of a little feel too, because you get a lot of time to spend with gamers and stuff like that. So as a first big con for people, I always tell them to go there. I'll be there next month. I'll be there next couple of days. And then at the end of this month over at Dice Tower Con in my hometown, basically, it's Florida in Orlando. I get to see Tom Vassell and all of the Dice Tower people there. And then head over to Gen Con, of course, in a month after that or so. In Indianapolis. So that's the summer con season, and it's getting very crazy right now with travel.
Yep, and I'll hopefully see you at Dice Tower Con. I do want to thank Marty and Danielle for coming on. Marty from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and of course Danielle Bach from the Draft Mechanic podcast. The game tonight, Boudin Bowl, we've done it a couple of times. It's sponsored by our friends over at Game Toppers. You've seen Game Toppers before, I'm sure, right?
Oh God, Berkey is the best. The guy's amazing. His tables are great. I recommend everybody out there who's looking for a really great game table, get one of the Berkey's tables, put it right on your current kitchen table, your dining room table. Perfect thing to put on there to expand your gaming experience.
I've got one downstairs, and Steve O'Rourke's reminding everybody, hey, if you click on that link, you watch the videos, you got a chance. I don't know if you know this, Stephen. He's given out about $1,000 worth of Game Topper tables and mats. And also, if you just go and click on any of the links and support any of the podcasts that he support, like the Dukes of Dice or Gumbo Live, you can win a free one of the Game Toppers LLC game mats. And if you haven't seen it, Steven, I know you've seen them at all the conventions.
Yeah.
They're thick. They're wonderful. They're awesome to play. I've been playing with one downstairs. So everybody out there, make sure you click on that link that Steve has posted into the chat, and make sure you get your chance at winning that $1,000 one. So I'm going to see you at Dice Tower Con, and then of course again at Gen Con. Make sure it's going to be a fun season, a busy summer season for you. We're going to go dark for the summer, of course, because of the con travels and everything else, and we'll pick it back up in the fall. All right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest, the Podfather himself, Stephen Buonocore, and of course, I want to thank Steve, the name father O'Rourke, for producing season 4 and all the games all during the year. You've seen some of the crazy games. You did the Jumbo.
What happened? We froze. BJ, we froze.
What's up, Steven? I'm still here.
Oh, good. We're here. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the swamp gas gets us, so don't worry about that. And of course, we want to thank Marty Connell of Rolling Dice and Taking Names and Danielle Bach of Draft Mechanic for playing the Boudin Bowl. It was a close game, one of the closest games of the season. And of course, we want to thank Game Toppers LLC, but most importantly, Steven, I want to thank the chat crew. It's been an awesome season.
Thank you guys
out there. How can the chat crew reach you if they have some questions about Agizia or about any of the rando writers that you have?
Right. So a quick mention again about Agizia. If you want to get this game, it's going to close in an hour and a half on Kickstarter. It's a Grail game, Agizia Shifting Sands edition. If you want it in the original edition, plus the new reinvented second edition, back it within the next hour and a half. The retail version will only have the redeveloped edition. Please follow us on Twitter at Stronghold Games, Instagram at Stronghold Games, Facebook, of course, Stronghold Games. My own podcast, if you don't mind me plugging that.
Absolutely.
Board Games Insider with Ignacy Chevicek of Portal Games. We do a weekly podcast, sometimes bi-weekly due to the schedules of traveling and stuff like that. We talk about the industry. We take questions from our Board Game Geek Guild, which you can post over there. But we love engaging with the audience. So please check us out there. Board Games Insider on where all podcasts are found. And thank you, BJ, so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it very much.
I love having you on here. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo. And until next time, Steven, laissez le bon temps rouler.